Good morning, everyone. I'm Giulia Leghissa from the editorial board of the Build Up portal, which is the hosting platform for today's webinar. Are we ready for BIM in construction sites? A reality check, experiences from the ground, from the H2020 project BIMplement. I would like to give a brief presentation of Build Up first, the European portal for energy efficiency in buildings. Build Up is a collaborative platform which is continuously updated, and it represents one of the key sources of information on the topic of energy efficiency. You can register and become a member of our community, and you can also upload news, events, present a case study, results from a project, and so on. I would like to invite you all to navigate the portal. You will see that there are different content sections gathering different sources of information. For example, news and events, practices, which includes publications, cases, or review articles, which are linked to the topic of the month. For example, the topic of the month of December is renovation of existing buildings. Then in the Learn section, for instance, you find all the podcasts of the webinars that we organized. In the Explore section, you can also find many links to H2020 projects. So I will leave the floor now to Larissa, and thank you.
Hi, hello. My name is Larissa de Rosso. I'm working at the Architects Council of Europe, and we are partners in the BIMplement project. I will be the moderator in this webinar. BIMplement reached the second year of the project, and we are now able to share our training experiences. This webinar will be an interactive panel discussion that will uncover training experience in each of the 5 countries involved in the project. Today, we will address 3 questions about the impact of BIM maturity in this training experience, the potential of BIM to improve the construction quality, and last but not least, the tools developed by each partner to address the chosen focus of ventilation and air tightness. The webinar will have 3 rounds of questions and answers. Each questions are going to be answered by a partner from each of the 5 countries BIMplement was applied. The first answer will be France, followed by Lithuania, Poland, Spain, and the Netherlands. By the slides, yeah, there you go. By the end of each round, we will open the floor for questions from the audience. Please feel free to type your questions in the chat box. The 3 questions proposed are: question 1, do you think the BIM maturity level in your country has influenced the way the training was developed and involved during the project? Question 2, from your experience in this project, how can BIM improve the quality of work in a construction project in your country in general, and specifically on air tightness and ventilation? Question 3, could you talk about the tools developed in your country to address air tightness and ventilation using BIM? So before I briefly introduce the project to you, I would like to present the speakers. The first speaker will be Nargis Ben Moussa, and she will speak on behalf of our French partner. The second speaker will be Vaidotas Sarka. He will speak on behalf of our Lithuanian partner. The third speaker will be Piotr Dimarski, and he will speak on behalf of our Polish partner. The fourth speaker will be Maria José Esparza Arbona, and she will speak on behalf of our Spanish partner. And the last but not least will be Ian Kromweg, and he will speak on behalf of our Dutch partner. So now we have a short video to introduce the project to you. construction. Hands-on training using BIM-enhanced learning tools in the workplace. Quality control throughout the construction and renovation process. It uses BIM as a universal information holder and enabler of the learning process within projects and projects. The learning process can be developed from several knowledge sources, such as training, inspections, entry information, guides, and so on. These sources can be qualified in the knowledge, skills, and competencies. These to deliver guidelines, inspection formats, checklists, instructions, and so on to workers on site. The use of BIMplement will lead to single learning loops on site, to double learning loops between sites and between different professions, and to triple learning loops on site through feedback from the construction site and knowledge providers. BIMplement works on closing the gap between the knowledge of and knowledge. The simple use of knowledge can be achieved by BIMplement qualifications. The first step in BIMplement field was the training methodology was implemented, tested, and improved. BIMplement has trained already a group of BIM coaches. At the national level and regional level, we are responsible for seeding the network and finding suitable experimental sites where elements from BIMplement will be applied. At experimental sites, several groups of workplace coaches are being trained. They are our partners in the implementation of BIMplement. Yeah, I think we should stop the video. I think we are having some technical issues. On both national levels and EU. Yes. So just to not have much delay, let's just jump to our to our partners to answer the questions, and certainly we will share the video with our audience later on. So I will give the floor to Nargis Ben Moussa to answer the question. Do you think the BIM maturity level in your country has influenced the way the training was developed and involved during the project? Please.
Sorry. Yes, good morning, everyone. So answering this question, we would say that 35% of construction projects in France are actually 3D or BIM designed. And so as you can see in the slide, most of the projects are requested by local government, the most design offices start working with BIM 3 years ago, which means that BIM is quite recent in France, and that in many cases projects are only 3D projects and BIM models are too often low quality, and these models are used only at a design level. So this is mainly the situation in France. BIM is quite considered as a tool, and when we are talking about a tool, it's not an easy one, which means that people are quite afraid of using it, and it's a tool used mainly for designer, both in project managers' offices and in large building companies. So when we are talking about small companies, BIM is more often not used there. So the BIM process is more developed at this level, and however, the BIM stops at the design level, which means that on-site implementation, the BIM is not quite present, and site workers are always left aside, especially when it comes to the numerical transition, and the BIM.
So as we can say about France, the strategy has been focused first on small and medium enterprises and small craftsmen. So BIM maturity within this target is very low, rather than even non-existent, which is very different from very big companies and contractors. Because this situation is mostly explained that the small and medium companies in government, they usually only use 2D plans. They heard about BIM, but they never had like the opportunity to visualize 3D project or manipulate a BIM model. And architect and design offices who work with 3D or BIM model, they deliver only 2D plans to building companies. And most clients, including public authorities or private owners even, they do not impose or precise the BIM specification for the design phase, and almost never ask for a BIM model on this construction. So starting from this general observation, what we can say is that, could you please go to the next? Yes, thank you. So what we can say, no, the first, like the scheme, please.
Sorry, I'm trying.
The next one.
Just one more. Sorry. Yeah, you need to go one more. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. Yes. So as you can see here, okay.
Sorry. Sorry.
No worries.
It's taking a little bit of time to change the slides.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to go one up, yeah?
Yes, please. Exactly. So as I was saying, starting from this general observation about the maturity of BIM use in France, what we can say, and very based on our experience with different on-site projects, it appears that the training programs need to be very implemented to upskill the whole stakeholders chain in the field construction, which means that we need to work with different stakeholders, but not on the same subject, which is very different. This scheme shows that each actor is linked with the others. We can see that each one has different roles to be clarified and specified. And then we have to explain who do what, and also at which level they interact. So for example, if we can take the client level, which is in this case is public authorities, Dijon Métropole, we could say that the client draft precise BIM specification for the project managers, then that answers their needs in terms of quality implementation, as built model for facility managers, etc. And then they make it compulsory to use the BIM on site. From the other side, the architects and project managers, they improve the BIM design projects with more rigorous classification, data quality, and adapt data to the needs of on-site workers with technical details, instruction guides. When we are talking about building companies, we have two different levels. First, we have the level of white-collar workers, which are the office workers, and then we have the blue-collar workers, who are the people working on site. So unless small and medium enterprises and companies, they are big enough to be requested to design their own trade BIM model, they usually need first to manipulate models from freeware viewers, and then to understand actually what they can get from it. And then they understand the interest for inside workers to use the BIM model, which means that these office workers need to understand why we're using and the added value of the BIM, so blue collar workers can use them. So at last, they specify what specific data they should find in the model for a better on-site implementation, which leads us to the blue-collar workers, on-site workers, who will be trained, and the training will aim to upskill them so they can be able to manipulate a BIM project model with viewers, find data that are useful for site works, open attached documents, participate in creation of the as-built model, and exchange with other stakeholders cross-level and cross-state, which is very important here because the whole idea is to exchange information, and to contribute on the continuous quality of the whole process. And I think this is all for me for this question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we will listen from Vaidota Sarkas from Lithuania. I'm just trying to change the slides. One moment. I hope it will work soon.
Hello. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
Vaidota Sarkas. I will introduce myself before the slides will appear. I'm from Lithuania, from Lithuania Builders Association and Digital Construction Organization, which rounding 13 Lithuanian construction sector associations for development BIM methodology in Lithuania. Okay, so to the answer to the question, yes, of course, existing situation at national level has influence to the project training, the developments, and also we have some proposals for development of BIMplement project model. So within Lithuania, BIMplement comes already to some existing situation what we have already. And we call this BIM evolution or revolution in Lithuania, as we started from 2006 from simple question regarding classification from one company, and then we continue with an investigation what is going related with BIM implementation in other countries. Then we started organization of the digital construction conferences at 2012. Then we established organization 2014. Then we started arrangements of BIM awards from 2016, so already 5 years in a row. And final 2017, from the learnings, we already have some initial BIM documentation. It's employee information requirements, BIM execution plan, level of development, BIM use cases, and classification system, and so on. Next slide, please.
Yes. Sorry, we'll take a minute, but yes, I'm changing it. Please continue.
Okay, so I will continue to speak that, but even in this case that we already have some experience in the market, we have more than 15,000 engineers and professionals and 100,000 blue collars in the market to reach. Also the topic how to avoid BIM wash and how to improve BIM projects efficiency and quality. So BIMplement is here. Next slide, please.
Yes.
And what we did, we implement BIMplement trainings to existing in the market BIM trainings model. Yeah, you see here is that we have theory, case studies, and training on site. It's horizontal lines, and BIMplement put into our agenda this training on site and use within real trainings, real project, BIM project. Okay, next slide, please.
Yes, continuous, please. It will take time.
Yeah, and the last slide is presenting what we using now, already taking from BIMplement as a result. One of the projects model as as demo model in existing training models. It means within BIM 1, BIM 2, and next stage will be implement this model in BIM 3 trainings. So you see here is that digital construction BIM methodology, plus and ZEP and BIM scope, plus BIM quality topic, plus common data environment implementation, and training on site model that we have already implemented in our market. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we will hear from Piotr Dymarski from, he is our Polish partner.
Hello, my name is Piotr Dymarski and I'm BIM coordinator in a construction company in Poland called Mostostal. I'm also a member of the one of the partners of the BIMplement project. So regarding the first question, I would like to inform that generally the BIM maturity level in Poland is low. There is no legal regulations in our country, and I think that we will have to wait for them 2 years. Investors are starting to discover the benefits of BIM. However, as BIM is becoming fashionable, we prepare requirements that are very extreme, from very general to very demanding. And in both cases, this is problem for general construction from the beginning. Investors are not fully aware of the benefits from using BIM technology, and they don't know how to use BIM after the completion of the projects. And unfortunately, they don't want to pay for BIM. Architects are a group that this is the group that they already discover what are the benefits of using BIM technology. However, the way of the modeling of architects mainly focuses on detecting collisions and doesn't take into account the needs of the construction companies for the execution phase. When we starting to perform trainings on construction sites and we started to encourage people to use BIM, we notice that we have to use the language of benefits. So we have to be very clear what kind of benefits will have white and blue collar workers on the construction sites of using BIM. So we had to prepare very simple and clear messages to them, and I think that this is a very short summary of this for this answer.
Okay, thank you. Now we are going to hear from our Spanish partner, Maria José Esparza Arbona.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Here I am with my colleague Sergio Muñoz, our master trainer. So regarding, sorry, the next slide is possible?
Sure, I'm trying. 1 minute.
Okay, it's coming, yes. So regarding the first question, definitely yes. In Spain, although BIM maturity is gradually increasing and qualitative indicators are improving, the level of implementation is still low. The screen shows some data of the inclusion of BIM requirements in public tenders in Spain in recent years. So as you can see in figure number 1, qualitative indicators are improving, especially those related to the incorporation of specialized professionals in the technical team, customer information, and quality control of the BIM model. In the figure number 2, you can see how the BIM maturity level is increasing, and currently almost 1 in 3 tenders has an advanced BIM maturity level compared to the average. And in figure number 3, according to this map, the regions in Spain where more contracts have been made are Catalonia, Madrid, and Andalusia.
In fact, in Catalonia, BIM is mandatory in public tenders for big projects since June of this same year. And another important issue is that there are more tenders with BIM requirements for design stage than for construction stage. So there is a direct relationship about this and the BIM level maturity, higher for architectural or engineering firms than for contractors.
Yes, next slide, please. So in Spain, an awareness campaign was held in which more than 150 professionals participated and filled out a questionnaire. The results of these questionnaires and the conclusions of the different meetings with key agents in the region laid the basis for the content index of the trainings to be held. Next slide. In general, design teams have a higher maturity level in BIM than customers and construction companies. As our trainings were aimed mainly at workers in construction companies, it was decided to create an introductory course with basic concepts that are commonly used in the construction phase, such as planning and measurements. At the moment, trainings have been arranged for 3 construction companies that are Bexa, Obremo, and Clásica Urbana.
And it's important to take into account that many times the BIM model received by contractors really are not ready to be used in the construction stage. So there is a gap between the design stakeholders and the contractors, mainly due that they are involved in the project in different stages. So that's an important issue too.
And that's all from our side.
Okay, thank you. And now we will hear from Ian Kromwyk. I hope my pronunciation is fairly correct. He is our Dutch partner. Ian? Ian, please. Okay, so I think we cannot hear Ian. Okay, perhaps we should carry on, and later on we can come back to this question. So,
do you hear me now?
Okay, great. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, great. Whoa. Yes.
There was a small technical issue. Sorry for that. I'm Jan Kromwijk. I'm working at the Knowledge Institute ISSO for the building and installation sector. And when we talk about BIM maturity in the Netherlands, then we can say that in general, the BIM maturity level is quite high. But we found out in the Dutch pilot cases and the experimental site that the implementation of quality assurance with the use of BIM and quality assurance on site is not easy. And that's because the differences between individuals, teams, and organizations in BIM maturity levels play an important role. When there are differences in BIM maturity, then we see as a result several forms of resistance and miscommunication, leading to stress and misunderstanding. And it seems that instead of addressing communication skills in training, it helps more to address the gaps in BIM maturity. So based on the lessons learned within BIMplement, we are now able to assess BIM maturity in an early stage of activities, and then use the BIM training activities from BIMplement to fix the gaps with different forms of trainings. We also found that even on low maturity levels, BIM is quite usable for quality assurance. So this means that when you are not automating everything around quality assurance by using BIM, there are still many opportunities that can be taken when we are using BIM on site. So the conclusion is that even on a low maturity level, BIM has added value, but only if the players involved are on the same level. And I think BIMplement plays a very important role here to get all stakeholders within a building team, for example, on the same BIM maturity level to make sure that the BIM implementation is really working. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ian. So now we open the floor for questions. So please, if you have any questions, you can type it in the question box, and I can make the questions to the speakers. So so far, no questions. I think the presentation was very clear. So okay, so let's carry on, and then if there is any questions about this round, I'll come back to them. Oh, okay. Sorry. So I just found one question. So the question is to Ian. Ian, which software is used most of the time in the Netherlands?
Within the Netherlands, I cannot answer that because I see many different software packages being used, and there are a few software packages that are used more than others, but in general the diversity is quite high.
Okay, and there is another question also talking about BIM tools. Can you say what tools, programs will be mainly used for BIM in the future?
I think it's better to answer that question when the experimental sites have been discussed in the next round of questions.
Okay. Well, in any case, we will talk about some tools we developed in BIMplement in the following slides. So yes. So okay. Well, let's start. So our next question. So from your experience in this project, how can BIM improve the quality of work in a construction project in your country in general, and specifically on air tightness and ventilation? So please, Nargis.
Yes, thank you, Larissa. So as for this question, we need to start first by saying that new zero energy buildings, they are much more complex than those who has been designed, for example, 20 or 10 years ago, because 2D plans cannot report on new zero energy building complexity. As you can see here in the slide, there are two different models, 2D and 3D, and we can see that in 2D plans, we can't report much, which means that we can see different networks, complex walls, interconnected systems, superposition of pipes, etc. On the other side, 3D models, they are much better. They're BIM models can show off what, where, and how materials and objects have to be implemented, which means that with 2D plans, on-site workers and also building companies, when we talk about white-collar workers, they have to imagine and build a 3D presentation on projects of different steps and of implementation and of the interfaces with other batches. And this imagination of what would be drives to different interpretations between design project and implementation, and most of them entails a lower energy efficiency and quality because some things cannot be done right, which means that technical details and instruction guides are paper documents. This is when we are talking about 2D, it's always or mostly papers and always difficult to find on site. On the other hand, with 3D plans, on-site workers can have the exact visualization on the project and all its building elements as the project manager did design it. And with BIM models, on-site workers, they can be trained to use viewers to visualize the project. They can exchange with stakeholders, like for example, project management, other batches, etc. They can read attached documents, which is very important because they have instruction guides, technical schematic, pedagogical videos, etc., which are attached. They can fill up online quality control sheets. They can include elements like pictures, documents to visualize everything, and they can participate in the drafting of as-built models. And all these tools, they help a lot avoiding implementation errors, and therefore they can improve the collaboration between stakeholders and different groups of professionals. So this is mainly when we are talking about new zero energy building. Now, if we switch to the part of ventilation and air-tightness, here we have different models. So you can see the three different images. And what's happening there, it's during the implementation, especially implementation on ventilation system, for example, and also when we're realizing a good envelope of air-tightness. What BIM models make possible to us is mainly we can see and visualize the whole system that has to be implemented. For instance, here we are talking about a ventilation system, including ventilators, ducts, pipe tees, and elbows, for example. The BIM also allows us to check each element and get its properties. They can help us to place each element within its local context, which means the walls, partition, other network, false ceiling, which means that here actually we can have a scheme of the ventilation system without the walls and also with the walls, so we can have very concrete where are the technical, the specification of each part of the building, okay? And then we can actually place, yeah, as I was saying, we place each element in the context, and we can also check the compatibility of design with what has to be implemented, especially with different groups of professionals. We can place each element in the room through IFC space where it has to be implemented. We can verify the blockouts, that the blockouts are very well placed in the right place, which is very, very important here. And also we can find out what are the conditions for these holes to be treated in a proper way to guarantee a good air tightness. So all this, the BIM model can help us avoid a lot of errors and a lot of like unnecessary holes or different, how to say this, not proper or adequate implementation of the whole building. I think that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Piotr, please.
Hello. I want to respond to this question from the general constructor perspective. So the quality can be improved in two ways. First of all, it's very important to focus on collisions management at the design stage. As designers and architects not always are familiar with all BIM tools, we decided to use BIM track platform in one of our demo sites. These platforms allows you to manage all collisions and assigning responsible people for solving all problems to have collisions-free design projects. As I said, as not all partners were familiar with this tool, we prepare training for them to explain how this kind of platform works. For the constructor, this is very good benefits. The principal benefit is that on the one place has a control of new problems or new issues or ongoing working issues and issues resolved. To these people that is not familiar with word issue, it means that on the construction site we use this word to describe problems that have to be resolved. And next. And regarding at the execution phase, to improve the quality, we have to control all problems at the time and the way of solving them. In Poland, construction companies in many cases use a lot of subcontractors. So we have to control the quality of their work. And we decided to implement a tool called Dalux Field to manage all issues, all problems that appear during the execution phase. The advantage of this tool is the fact that it's very easy to use and has a simple BIM model viewer. Next. we also use this tool to prepare quality reports. These reports we transform from Excel sheets into digital forms that are easy to fill by construction workers, as are always available on the platform that you can use by this platform. You can use by tablets or phones. Our workers all the time have access to these forms, and this is also the reason that that fill these forms regularly and actual the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Piotr. So now we go to Maria José, please.
Hello again. In Spain, the evolution of new technologies is leading the construction sector to a new revolution in the way of working, especially in the collaboration among the agents involved in the different construction processes. So the situation is radically transformed with the appearance of BIM, providing a new collaborative work methodology for the construction sector. Working at BIM means having a single model from which to generate and manage all the project information throughout its entire life cycle. Architecture, engineering, and construction professionals have a methodology that allows them to operate together in real time. Any change or information introduced in the model modifies the set of affected elements automatically. For example, by introducing the air conditioning ducts into the model. The system checks their possible interference with the structure, partitions, or other installations. Another added value of BIM technology is the possibility to define the elements that make up the building. It is possible to define its properties and characteristics, thermal, acoustic, environmental footprint, obtain product certifications, or specify the technical conditions for proper execution or maintenance. This information can be used both in the project phase for structural, thermal calculation, etc., in order to perform simulations and analysis of possible behaviors and to track maintenance tasks throughout their useful life. All this means having a powerful tool with which to avoid contradictions and project errors, carry out realistic planning, shorten execution deadlines, and with all this, optimize investments. Once this journey has begun, the future of construction cannot be other than adopting this new technology, using it at all stages of the life of the building, from the project phase to its demolition, through its construction, operation, and conservation. Progressively, a greater number of agents in the construction sector is assuming this new way of working and relating to others. In addition, the directives of the European Union push local administrations to join this trend, establishing digitalization in public tender procedures.
Yes, we want to remark that the Public Procurement Directive from 2014 that was translated to Spain in a Spanish law since 2018 talks about to take into account the life cycle assessment for new projects. So we consider that BIM can be used for this.
Yes, because it is necessary to define standards and rules that allow the exchange of information between employees in a unique and reliable way. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Ian, please.
From our experience in this project, BIM definitely can improve the quality of work in construction projects. In general, I think the talks of the other countries already spoke a lot of it. I would like to go especially to air tightness and ventilation. And what we found out is that the devil is in the details. And by enriching the BIM model and being able to provide both flat 2D details with specific information on the water tightness, on the air tightness and things like that, including a possibility to show the 3D view of the model on a BIM viewer on your mobile phone, that works very powerful to give the blue collar workers exactly the information they need, for example, to realize the air tightness as it is detailed out in the model. When it comes to empowering quality assurance, we have done a lot of work within BIMplement in creating qualifications, describing the knowledge, the skills and the competences needed to deliver a high quality job. And what we found out regarding this is that it is possible to connect that information to the BIM model so that in the future you can query the BIM model, for example, what kind of staffing in blue collar workers do I need to realize a high quality job when you are going to realize this model in reality. But in fact, there are at this moment so many possibilities to connect the qualification information to the BIM model that it's not that easy to automate the connection yet, because simply it's too much work, because several technical possibilities are used by the organizations in the field. But we found out that using the qualifications together with the 3D model can help enormously to address skill gaps, for example, application of a certain type of materials to realize air tightness or to realize a high quality job. And especially when you are going to connect that with the quality inspections that Piotr has showed us from the Poland side, I think we have a very good way of improving quality by the use of BIM. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So this is the end of the second round. So now we open the floor for questions. We have a first question, and I think this was addressed to the French partners, and perhaps Marion Oliver can reply to this one. So the question is everyone using some software of Trimble, Tekla, or so? Marion, could you reply this one?
Yes. In fact, what we presented in the slide is the basics of what we try to explain to the participant to the training session. What we want is to have everybody to be able to manipulate a viewer, so to visualize correctly the job they've got to do or the way they have to present the job. And in fact, we do use very often Tekla BIM sites because it's an easy viewer which has quite many tools, such as a possibility to use the album down under the model, where you can make the list of all the weak points, which we will see in the third part of the presentation. It's with the Tekla, it's also possible to add documents, to make notes, to exchange also, even if we don't use in the same type of a collaborative platform. So, well, yes, in fact, we do use as a basics Tekla BIM site, and then depending on the level of the person we are working with, and usually they don't want to invest into a real software. We just use different type of freeware viewers to be able to get some other additional tools. Did I answer?
Okay. Yes. Yeah, there is another question. Does France got Trimble connected also? I think you already answered to it, saying that you use viewers, yes?
Yes, that's right. What we if you do remember the very first schematics we showed, there are four main stakeholders, which are the client, the project manager, the facility manager, and the companies. In the very beginning of each project where we will have to implement training session, we analyze the level of each of these stakeholders, which both on the side of BIM maturity and in the question related to NZEP building and implementation and design, and airtightness and ventilation. And what we try to do, that's in the relation what Jan said just in the beginning. We try to upskill the one who have the lower level. And in terms of BIM, when the level is real low, sometimes there is almost no knowledge at all on BIM. What we try is to upskill all the person just to be users of the BIM model, not designers, but just users. And so we focused on freeware viewers. And the objective is first, as you see in the second session, first slide, to upskill them so that they are able to visualize a BIM model, visualize a different BIM model and superpowers different BIM model, which Tekla allows. And then the second part will be to explain them a little bit more what will be their work to do as a batch, for instance, in terms of ventilation, for instance, just which is what we show. So the objective is for all the low level BIM maturity is to upskill them to be able to use a viewer, to be able to visualize, get documents, exchange, and have the basic use of BIM. The interest is that they understand the interest for them to use the BIM viewer, and then they will be able maybe to invest into the design. But the very first level is this one.
Okay. Thank you, Mariam. So we close the second round now, and I think it's a great link for the third round, where we will talk about the tools developed in each country. So if we go to the next slide, the question is, could you talk about the tools developed in your country to address air tightness and ventilation using BIM? So, Nargis, please.
Yes, hello again. So in France, we actually developed two tools that will be still implemented and tested on real sites. First, we are talking about a mobile container to train on air tightness construction details. So it's a mobile container which is equipped with full-size mock-up with different air tightness solutions and ventilation system. It's brought by a truck to the construction site. And the idea actually is that on-site workers are trained on the solutions on site before they implement it on the real sites, let's say. Because usually the clients, which is the contracting public authority, they make it mandatory for all building companies on site involved in the projects, for all the workers working for these building companies, which are concerned by air tightness quality, to take a 1 half day training. Okay, this is what we commonly name in France FIT, which is formation intégrée au travail. It's training integrated onto sites. And the feedback usually has been very positive. And project management, the feedback from both public authority and project manager, they show that the blower door tests give much better results with the training programs. And if we can talk about numbers, the air-tightness indicator is divided by 2 or 3, which is very important indicators. There is a new version of this container that will include a BIM model of the container. Because in addition to improve blue-collar workers' practice, the container will also serve to train them to the use of a BIM model, first of the container, and then afterwards as the first tool or real project. The idea is also to make blue workers able to find out where in the building they learned the solutions were being implemented, which means they learn solutions and then they will need to figure out where in the building they're going to implement that. And then they need to find all the additional explanations at the document linked to the BIM model shows. This actually, as you see in the 2 pictures, so the big container and the workers, they're doing actually their training on the container. Let's move to the next slide, please. So for the next slide here, we are talking about air-tightness BIM model built from a real site model. Okay, so this second original tool is meant for air-tightness issues, which are more difficult to answer because there are very many solutions as project, which is not a very standard problem, standard solution, different problems, different solutions, different projects. So the proposal here is to create an air-tightness BIM model extracted from the original BIM model that will appear only weak points related to the issue. Okay, we're talking about complicated points, weak points, and we're going to treat them and give the corresponding solutions. Here, each weak point in the project, it could be like the doors, the holes for pipes or chimneys, the roof wall joint, etc. They will be worked out with the project manager and the specialized industrial companies to propose a solution in terms of material, instruction guide, detail, etc. And this solution will be attached to the BIM model, as we can see here on the 2 pictures. So yeah, they will be attached to the BIM model as technical document on product, technical details, schematics, video explaining the implementation, etc. And all on-site blue-collar workers will have access to these documents through the use of the viewer. So you see here, we have a weak point, we can access to video, and then we can access a technical sheet of it. Okay, and for instance, in this particular view, you see 3 attached documents. As I said, the video that shows how to use a special pump of insulation, and a technical schematic showing the generic treatment of a weak point in joinery. So these are the 2 main tools that we actually use in France to address air-tightness implementation using BIM. That's all for me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we go to Vaidotas. Vaidotas, please.
Yes. So I would start from the scope of our tools, and I would call this like some tools are soft. It means more related with quality assurance within process part and information management. Yeah, so within our case, we're starting from methodology part. It's digitalconstruction.lt, where we put and trained regarding this methodology our market. The next is statybos taisyklės, it's construction rules, quality check descriptions, quality checks, and competencies requirements related with energy efficiency systems and elements. also with air tightness and ventilation. Next is BIM classification, BIM information classification part. It's BIM Axon, where we are developing and starting from development of from BIM processes till model systems and elements and other stuff. Also, next is digital construction competencies register, StatTrack, where we are collecting, already starting collecting of the competences trainings about our market, specialists and workers. And for quality assurance also, we are using a construction journal where it's possibility to follow the projects and implementation activities with real register within one side of problems and documentation within project implementation part. Yeah, and also within the process, it's already going, starting from the design and till facility management. So as build part, we also looking for BIM Axon classification system have relation the final results that should be delivered within process from the design construction to maintenance and operation part. Next slide, please. So within this slide, we're starting the first place. We're starting from methodology and trainings. The second is we registering all competences to StatTrack, to competency register. Then dissemination through BIM awards. And we found that from 2016, when the level and energy efficiency was covered with a low level. So last year experience, we have already BIM projects related with within BREEAM excellent achievement level. Next is dissemination through international digital construction conferences, and next conference will be next year, 2020, 24th of April, and we welcome all to participate there. And within this whole scheme, we are planning also to cover BIMplement implementations and results. Next slide, please. This slide is about, I think, most of one of the most important part. It's information classification part, and we implementing classification into projects starting from design to construction and maintenance. And the main goal to have stable structure also about energy efficiency performance, starting from requirements till use in real life. And next slide, please. BIM trainings, within BIM trainings, we are focusing from competency level that we're developing now, also within the BIMplement project, and from highest level to the workers. And then we look to compliance level and also certification. And we are working from client. It work with client general level management, technical directors, and so on. Then to project management level, and till blue colors level. Next slide, please. And relation with construction technologies, we have developed also within descriptions and requirements that related with energy efficiency and relation with ventilation systems. Air tightness is related with facade, windows, roofs, ventilation and recuperation systems, heating systems, electricity and automation, and also renewable energy systems. And within BIMplement, we put into this scope BIM part and information, documentation, and also different specifications related with BIMplement project scope. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Piotr, please.
Hello. In BIMplement, we have developed a set of simple trainings to encourage employees to work in BIM technology. Our message is that to work on BIM, you don't have to be a BIM specialist as BIM modelers. And if you work by using IFC files, the work in BIM methodology is much more simpler. So on the construction site, normally construction workers are used to work with 2D documentation. Our goal is to show them that work with BIM models can be easier. Air tightness, ventilation quality are linked with collisions. So during our trainings, we divide participants into two groups. One of them has to find collisions by using only 2D documentation, and the second one uses BIM model, which is displayed in simple BIM viewer. After the exercise, we count the number of collisions found in each group, and after that, we compare the results. And after that, we show how to perform crash detection in an automatic way. In this case, we use tool called BIM Collab Zoom. And the result is that time savings and displaying all specified collisions are two main benefits for our participants that can encourage them to become interested in using open BIM methodology. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria Jose, please.
Hello again. So in Spain, the Ministry of Housing of the Valencian region and the Valencian Institute of Building have updated the catalogue of construction elements, one of its official documents most used by designers. This catalogue is the support that collects in BIM format the information offered by the main tools developed by the Valencia Institute of Building for professionals in the construction sector. The catalog is a desktop computer tool that collects a large sample of constructive solutions, which provides information on its thermal, acoustic, waterproof, fire protection, etc. With the catalog, designers can know the characteristic of the selected construction solutions and thus justify compliance with the requirements established in current regulations. Furthermore, from a set of material components, it is possible to design user solutions and calculate their physical properties, such as thermal transmittance, or verify that interstitial condensations will not occur in the enclosures, their acoustic insulation, etc. The catalog has become then a web application from which the construction solutions in IFC format are downloaded so that they can be imported from any BIM modeling program.
So to add something, as probably the audience know, IFC is an ISO standard for exchange information between BIM tools. So the information from the catalog now will be accessible with viewers in the construction site, like TechLab site or Bicolab or other viewers that other speakers have been talking before.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ian, please.
Yes, in the Netherlands, we have done a pilot field lab with a Dutch building company called Heembouw. And they are building several sites where they had issues with the air-tightness of the roofing details. And what we did is that we worked out on the roofing detail to get a very specific view on what is needed to realize a high quality roof that is also airtight. And what we did is that we created together with them and the blue collar workers, so the white collar workers were actually working together with the blue collar workers in a group session to determine how to optimize the performance in the field. And first detail you see is the full view, but by creating step-by-step instructions. Next slide, please. Yeah, you can see that by building up the detail step by step, you can pinpoint in each step the important aspects and add additional information to that important aspects. Next slide. So here you see the air-tightness detail is added here to prevent air leakages. Next slide. And here you also see that to prevent moisture issues, several kind of materials have been added to the details. And all that information is now available into an enriched BIM model, and it can be used by the workers on site in BIM viewers to find their way. So the workers have two options. They can work from the 2D details with enriched information, and they can work from the 3D model with the BIM viewer. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So this is the end of the third round, the last round, and we open the floor for questions. If you have any questions, please just type it in the question box. So far, no questions. Yes, one question. One question for the Netherlands. Talking about the efficiency in exchanging information between stakeholders. What BIM information will be expected from the manufacturers? And in what level? How far manufacturers have to BIM? How far manufacturers have to do BIM, perhaps? That's the question. Ian, please.
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's not an easy one because we found out that when working with blue-collar workers, it's very nice to have a high level of detail in the BIM model. So yes, manufacturers can provide the value chain within the building and installation sector with high quality and high level of details in their BIM models together with the products. And the next step is the implementation of the product into the real site. And what we found out is that one of the most difficult things within the value chain is to bridge the gap between working on site and working off site in the office. So in the office, building detail can be designed based on manufacturers' instructions and based on manufacturers' information. And then when it goes to on-site, then it is not automatically guaranteed that the detail is being realized as it is documented. And by using the step-by-step methodology developed together with Heimbouw, we are making sure that the blue-collar workers can do a step-by-step realization of the high-quality job, and there the actual value is realized. So yes, we need high level of details, BIM information about components. That's very usable, but it's not the holy grail. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, I think that was the last one. So yeah, without delay, I want to thank you everyone, all the audience that attend to this webinar, and all the speakers as well. Thank you very much. And please follow us on our Facebook page. Sign up for our newsletter, our Twitter account. Go for Twitter, follow us, and yes, I hope to see you in the next BIMplement webinar during the springtime. Thank you very much.